Hello and welcome to Tarot with Tanya. This is 7 cards for 7 days, and we are looking at the week beginning Monday, October 28th, and going to Sunday, November 3rd. I will talk some about the astrology, the various aspects that are happening this week, which is pretty busy. And then we'll look at the cards. I'm using the Wildwood deck, and then we will finish with a Tree Keeper's Oracle card. Just want to make sure I had that in front of me. And thank you so much for being here. Really, really, really appreciate that. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome for the first time if you are new. So please take what resonates for you, leave the rest behind. We're working on hopefully developing our own intuition and seeing what vibrates for us, and again, letting the rest go. So we start with our moon in Virgo this week. Feminine, earthy, practical, concerned with health, nutrition, diet, things in general. Wants to be organized, that kind of energy. So good for getting earthy kinds of things done. And then we're going to go through Libra, of course, the sign of the diplomat, and the person who loves aesthetics, things like that, negotiation. And then we'll go through Scorpio, and actually we have a new moon in Scorpio this month. So that we had a full moon in Aries a couple of weeks ago, and so it's on that 2-week cycle, of course. And so now we're in this new start of the Scorpionic energy, which is very much about depth and passion and transformation, mystery, sexuality. It likes things that are deep in nature. And so we'll start a new cycle with that. And then we end our week with the moon in Sagittarius. And I think we also have Mercury, I'll get to that, moving into Sagittarius. So there'll be some energy there. And that loves philosophy, travel, interacting with people from different nations, higher education, law, things like that. So a little bit more of a breakdown. On Monday, we have Mars trining Neptune. Easy, nice energy, but we also have Venus squaring Saturn, which is a tougher energy to deal with. So it might make us, this Mars trine Neptune, very aware of the subtle energies around us. We'll be sensitive to our emotional environments, and we might want to seek upliftment. That's that Mars and Neptune interacting. But we also might want secrecy. That's the Neptune part too. On the other hand, with the Venus square Saturn, our social lives might suffer a little bit. I mean, it's not a long interaction. Venus moves fairly quickly, so I wouldn't get hung up on that. But, it's also going to cause us to reflect on our relationships. That's the Venus and the Saturn squaring. Is this working? What's working? What isn't working? That kind of thing. Then we jump to Wednesday, and we have Mercury opposing Uranus. So Mercury, flits around, travels quickly, full of information, curiosity, ideas. Uranus is a kind of a higher vibration of the mind, and it comes in with those lightning bolts and surprises. So we want to try to stay grounded and not do things that are maybe too off the wall that day. It seems like a very playful energy to me, but again, they're opposing. So, make sure you understand what's really going on, and I wouldn't try to do anything too sudden or maybe different. Thursday, on Halloween, and happy Halloween to everyone, we have Mercury trining Neptune now. So before it was Mars, now Mercury. So I just talked about Mercury, the curiosity, the mind, wanting to flit around, wanting to be on top of all the information, share the gossip, that kind of thing. And when it's trining Neptune, it can make us very curious about mystical sorts of experiences. We might want to talk about that kind of thing. And I mentioned that new moon in Scorpio on Friday, so remember that. It's kind of a reset each time we get that new moon, a new cycle. And then on Saturday, the 1st of November, so we're in that bridge week, we have Mercury trining Mars this time. So, well, I'll read the rest of it. We also have Mercury sextiling Pluto and Mercury entering Sagittarius. So, that trining Mars, that can put some action to our ideas. We might want to be a little bit careful of not acting in a too hasty sort of way. So just be mindful of that. And then when you have Mercury, it's obviously very busy that day, sextiling Pluto, that can really give some depth to our communication. We might seriously want to know what's going on, want to be asking the right questions. But it's also not, great necessarily for taking action. Get the information, but maybe wait a bit before you do something with that. Now, with Mercury entering Sagittarius, here you have all of those things about Sagittarius that I mentioned. That's where our moon is ending this week too. It's those things about the higher mind, wanting to meet people from other cultures, other nations, wanting to understand something maybe in a more philosophical sense, wanting to travel. That can very much be a Mercury in Sagittarius kind of thing, or, start to plan a trip. And then on Sunday, the 2nd of November, Mars opposes Pluto, Venus opposes Jupiter, and Mars enters Leo. There's a lot going on that day. So we have pardon me. We have two oppositions, obviously. So when Mars is opposing Pluto, we want to be careful again about the actions. And it's kind of interesting when we get to the cards, that will play out as well. We want that depth that Pluto gives. Mars wants the action. Pluto can be on the greedy side. I mean, it does rule plutocracy. It can be very invested in power. So we want to make sure we're using our power, our Mars, our energy, for things that do have depth and do benefit people in general, not just seeking personal power, things like that. Unless, maybe that's something you need to do. Maybe that's an issue for you, and it can help you with that. Now, Venus also opposes Jupiter. So Jupiter's expansive, it's the gas giant. It puts expansion into whatever it might be, for better or worse. And, when you have Venus, planet of love and beauty, harmony, art, opposing that, likes pleasure, it can be a little bit tough. We might feel a bit restrained in our love lives. Depending on where it falls in your chart, it could actually have the opposite effect and give you an energy boost in that way. But, just be mindful of it on Sunday. And then Mars entering Leo will make Mars happy. Mars rules Aries. That's a fire sign. The fire signs get along. Leo's another one. So we could like things dramatic. We could like to be in the limelight. We could want possibly to play games, things like that, cause drama, stir things up. So my best advice for that day is, given all that's going on astrologically, is try to seek moderation. And in general, it kind of seems like a week for that. So on Monday with the cards, and I just realized my lighting might be messed up. Sorry about that. Hopefully it'll be okay. We start with the Ten of Stones, which is Earth in this deck. So the tens, those are peak energies. We start with the ones in the suits, go up to those tens, then it moves to the royal cards. But for that minor arcana, the 10 is the peak number. So this is very much loving home, enjoying home, being at home. I feel like this came up recently, and you have that wonderful kind of reverse tree house where the house is around the bottom, and I don't know why it's not really a ladder, but for some reason that sort of entryway with the two pillars on each side always feels like a lift up into that tree, and of course the whole arch is made for that view. So it's a very favorable view of home, a very solid vibration about home. And Tuesday we come to the Three of Bows, and that would be fire, would be wands typically. And this one's interesting. This one often has the feel of manifesting something, and the way, I think it's a feminine figure here, the way she's standing gives me that feeling like, all right, I've got my territory staked, I've got my energy symbols on my robe here, I am conjuring up something, I know it's there, it's just on the tip of manifestation. And threes are creative, harmonious, and fire can get some things done. Then we go back to our stones, and this time we have the 8. Here we have a shaman-like figure holding the snake, sitting in a kind of meditation, full moon above. And this typically, did I say 8? I mean 9. 9 is that, to me, magic number. You add it to anything and you get the same number. So here, this one's associated with wealth, with gain, with things going well, material, and he looks pretty comfortable in his situation. We get one major this week, and that is the world. Sometimes the world tree specifically. Sometimes you'll see it called the universe, but it's the last of the majors, and it signifies the end of a big cycle. It's interesting to me that this comes up because this is the day before Halloween, which is the day before All Hallows Day, right? Halloween, Eve of All Hallows Day. So, a day to honor the dead. The spirits, that's the mythology around it. The spirits come out Thursday night. We, communicate, appease, settle them down, do whatever we do that next day. So this seems so significant to me, plus the new moon coming as well. So, of course, this is, that's Friday. So I'm not sure what time that new moon happens. So it could even be that night. So very appropriate that we end a cycle, and just take note. It might be something subtle. It might be something major. What might be ending for you that you're ready to release and go into something new? And it could be, that you're very happy with that thing. And on our Friday, the actual Day of the Dead, or All Hallows Day, we get the Queen of Vessels. And vessels in this deck are water. So she's the water fairy. She's very nurturing, very psychic, intuitive. And it's not about using reason and logic, but using feeling and knowings that you might have. So here, to me, it's called salmon, so it's the idea of the salmon going back to the place of origin. And how do they do that? Well, I'm sure there's all kinds of science we don't understand, but it can be seen as a very intuitive kind of leap here as well. And in general, I should mention that the cards, they fall more on the feminine side with the stones and the water this time. We only have that one masculine card in the bows of the fire, and that's already a number that's feminine as well, because it belongs to the Empress or the Green Woman in this deck. Our Saturday is the Four of Vessels, or Four of Cups, and here it's called boredom. I like the Thoth label on this one, which is luxury. It's like, are we so settled into our emotional selves into our emotional environment. And remember, this is a week where we're going to kind of be playing with that stuff, with this Pluto, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, a little bit of Jupiter, a little bit of Saturn, but mostly Mercury stuff going on, moving around. Are we restless? How are we feeling? What are our actions? What are we reflecting on in our relationships, and so forth? We might need a rest by Saturday. I mean, the Four of Swords is very much about taking a rest, and she just seems to be almost languishing. So we might have some inertia. We might just need a timeout, just to settle our emotions, just let our feelings be felt. It is a stable number. 4 is an earth number, so there'll be a stability in that. Just don't want to get stuck. We don't. By Sunday, we're at rebirth. So again, that ending with the world tree, the last card of the majors, having that new moon, having the Day of the Dead. Scorpio is all about the water too. I forgot to mention that. So it, very intuitive and psychic there as well. Here with the 8 of Vessels, the rebirth, we're following the theme, right? Now, sometimes this card can be seen as leaving something behind, walking away from it, knowing that you're better off doing that. And sometimes it's a good thing too. Sometimes we might just need to leave a situation for whatever reasons, and that can be okay. 8s belong to the Strength card. So there is a strength in it, and kind of, again, perhaps knowing when to walk away. And it doesn't have to be forever. It can be a temporary thing. Okay, so that's our week. 1 major, so that also fits with that whole kind of, we're turning a page. Some transformative energies are happening. We're going to end with the Tree Oracle card, and that is the Keeper of Solitude this week. It looks like November, right? The gray trees, the gray light, the leaves falling, coming into that shift. I mean, October, if you're in this northern hemisphere, and especially in the colder regions, you're going to get all of that change of the leaves and the falling down. And to me, that's that. Okay, we've fallen down. Where are we now? There will be times for togetherness, but not now. This is a time for solitude. The spiral of your soul tree and its root system need your attention. It has songs to sing and dreams to sigh straight into your heart. But you can only hear their messages in the intentional quiet of solitude. And maybe that's Saturday. Take this time to break away from the clan, withdraw from the clamoring world outside and the one in your own mind. Nestle down with intentionality. Sometimes it takes willing aloneness to discover your belonging. I'll repeat that, I like that. Sometimes it takes willing aloneness to discover your belonging. The belonging to your soul tree, to the present circumstances and its challenges, to yourself. So, beloveds, hope you take that to heart. I'm wishing you all the best week possible. The election here in the States is getting close, really, really close. And I do think that's, produced a lot of tension, anxiety, whatever it might be. But we're feeling those feels. So stay calm, stay steady, and I will see you again in 7 days.